For NVIDIA, we're awaiting the earnings on the 28th, and I'm wondering how the story sets up. You know, on August 5th, people were really doubting the growth story within the AI sector, but now all of the stocks are pretty much back above August 5th levels, roughly. So where are we in terms of the setup going into those numbers?
Well, there's been what we call ROI fog, where everybody's worried about, is there an ROI? And ROI is the most subjective thing probably within our coverage questions lately. But we feel that NVIDIA is really still the market leader, still dominant, and they are really set up well for next year. The reason is a lot of the apps that are coming are going to start inferencing. Video is a big catalyst, so we're hoping to see that. But I think that the Blackwell concerns that there was a push out were a little overblown. You know, we think that the Hopper stuff is going really well for them in the near term, but hopefully there's no air pocket.
Ben, have you thought about when might be a time to start thinking about investing in the people that are buying the chips from NVIDIA, as to whether or not that would mean something to their bottom line?
Well, NVIDIA actually invests in some of their own customers.
Right.
But, in terms of investing, you mean in the other equities?
Well, no, let's say I think NVIDIA is either overblown or is fully valued here, and that NVIDIA makes a chip. And that chip is like an input into the process. Somebody's using that chip, and they're going to make money with that chip. Who's going to make money with the chips NVIDIA is making?
Well, first, it's going to be the clouds. So the hyperscalers, Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, they'll create tools, and then folks join their clouds and then start creating AI apps. Now, a lot of people are like, hey, I'm not using it, or I got bored with it. So what we need to start seeing is enterprises layer their data on some of the tools these companies have, including their models, and then start generating returns. What it's looking like right now is that it helps them cut costs, which means some people, which may actually help the Fed's reasoning here, but it does look like a lot of the leading tech companies are using AI to keep
headcount down. So it's the same as 7. It's an incestuous circle here.
No, I do think that a lot of companies, it'll be led by tech, but a lot of the enterprises over time will be using AI to be more efficient. Customer service already looks amazing as a use case, coding, and then a lot of stuff in healthcare. I actually do some work with Mount Sinai, and you're really optimistic about what it means for healthcare and diagnoses.
In the chip race, we heard this morning that Texas Instruments is receiving some CHIPS Act money. How do you think that rollout is going, and is there going to be a better backdrop for our national champion in the chip sector, and that would be Intel, which has been, really troubled stock this year?
Yeah. Well, look, I think that what you have to remember about the CHIPS Act is it's not just the Intels of the world. There's also TSMC, which is the leader, undisputed champ of manufacturing, and we need to get their expertise over here. They're a friend of the U.S., so they're going to be getting some money. And where I'm focused more is on the real leading edge stuff, the AI chip stuff. Obviously, Texas is a little different and a few of them. But remember, the CHIPS Act's also going to invest in packaging, so there's a company, Amcor, that can benefit there, as well as the entire ecosystem. So AMAT, reported it very worrisome that they may lose some China revenue, but the CHIPS Act money could underpin some more growth for them and replace that revenue.
2 very quick questions. Is Intel fixable?
It's 20 seconds.
Yeah, 20 seconds. No, look, it's been, yes, I think it's fixable. I've said before on your air, on the later show, look, this is like a Boeing kind of situation where we really need this company to work.
Right.
And it's going to be very hard to kick them out of the enterprise. However, AMD is going to gain share, and we need to see it. We need to see them stop the bleeding soon. But it should be a few more quarters of share losses.
Interesting tidbit out of the Goldman desk today. It feels like this fast snapback, they argue, does make any gross up post-Labor Day a little more of a climb. Look at what NVIDIA's done the last couple of weeks.
Totally.
And they've got earnings coming up on the 28th. Does that make sense to you, given how unpredictable September's can be?
It just seems like it's been a very compressed process. I think that's what they're getting at, where you had this complete flight from risk liquidation moment right back around the yen carry trade on. It was a yen carry trade on one, but it also was every strategy based on continued calm and very low correlations among different assets and all these buildup of sort of like things are fine type strategies. They all got cleared out. And then now the market didn't really do a lot of work retesting the lows, and you have to chase NVIDIA maybe, or don't fight it into the earnings. I do agree with that.
At the time, that's something you were looking for maybe to see a little bit more of, yeah? More of a little of an overshoot to the downside?
Yes, I'm always looking for that.
Yeah.
I'm always looking for the fatter pitch, or looking for that thing that says, you kind of wring the hope out of the short-term tactical community. But a lot of work was done. The National Association of Active Investment Managers, these are market timers, short-term trend followers, things like that. They really cut back from very elevated exposures down to pretty low neutral in a week. So it just seems like it happened in a hurry. What I do find interesting, a lot of folks are pointing this out, like Jeff DeGraff over at Renaissance, is that bond yields haven't had as much of a move.
Yeah.
They didn't bounce that much. Now, it could just be, look, if the Fed's going to be cutting, the direction of surprise maybe is going to be weakness in the economy, not strength. It's just sort of not confirming in a vociferous way this move we've seen, celebrating the resilience of the economy from retail sales.
Right.
Alright, I hope you're all doing well on this slight green day for both the S&P and NVIDIA. So in yesterday's video, I mentioned that I thought we might have a slight red day today, but hey, I'll gladly take a slight green day over a slight red day any day of the week. The S&P finished up roughly 0.2% and NVIDIA closed up 1.4% today. As I've been saying for a while now, NVIDIA's price action between now and earnings on August 28th will be largely dependent on the rest of the market. If the market can simply remain calm between now and then and not have any more frantic drawdowns like we've seen the past couple of weeks, then I think NVIDIA has more room to move higher. So with that in mind, I want to address something regarding the rest of the market. I think we may be dealing with a short-term positive sentiment shift right now. So this morning we got housing data, and I'll be completely honest, it was not good. U.S. housing starts came in nearly 100,000 less than expected. Housing starts month over month were expected to be negative 1.5%, and instead they were negative 6.8%, and building permits came in worse than expected as well. So if market participants are worried about fears of recession, then this data would cause the market to trade lower, right? Well, I think we have a temporary positive sentiment shift on our hands. Yes, the market initially traded lower this morning in pre-market, but then after market open, the market just shook the housing data off as if it wasn't that big of a deal. And then shortly thereafter, we got consumer sentiment data that was better than expected. So I think market participants are temporarily putting their fears of recession on hold and are instead focusing their attention ahead to Jackson Hole next Friday, where Fed Chair Jerome Powell is scheduled to speak, and then ultimately looking ahead to the next FOMC meeting in September in anticipation of Fed rate cuts. That seems to be the main focus of the market right now, brushing off the negative economic data in the short term and instead focusing ahead on Jackson Hole next Friday, FOMC in September, and NVIDIA's upcoming earnings report on August 28th. Now, if this sentiment continues in the short term, then that bodes very well for NVIDIA between now and earnings on August 28th. If the market can just stay calm between now and then I think NVIDIA likely has more room to run in anticipation of earnings. I really like what I'm seeing on NVIDIA's chart. On the 4-hour time frame, we have a very clear break above the 180-day moving average. On the daily time frame, we recently had a cross on the MACD, and we have a clear move above the 50-day moving average, which is very encouraging to see. The 50-day MA is the purple line on your screen, and this moving average on the daily time frame is a very powerful indicator. As I mentioned in yesterday's video, my ideal scenario would be for NVIDIA to move above the 50-day MA and then come back down to briefly test the 50-day MA as support and then move higher from there. Well, we definitely got a move above the 50-day MA, and while we came close to testing the 50-day MA as support today, we technically did not touch it. Will we get a retest of the 50-day MA as support at some point in the near future? I don't know. Time will tell. We are approaching the upper trend line that was established on the high of June 20th and the relative high of July 11th. Once we reach this trend line, it will act as resistance. If we get rejected at the upper trend line, then I would be looking for a retest of the 50-day moving average. Now, I don't know if we will get rejected at this trend line or break through it. I truly do not know what the future holds. That being said, if the market remains calm in the short term, then I would not at all be surprised to see a move above the trend line as market participants get excited for what is expected to be a great earnings report on August 28th. Early next week, I think the market will be focused on Fed minutes on Wednesday, PMI numbers on Thursday, and most importantly, Powell's speech at Jackson Hole on Friday. Market participants will be watching Powell like a hawk on Friday, listening for any indication of a Fed rate cut in September. So we could have some volatility this coming week, and especially on Friday. So that is what I'm seeing as of now regarding NVIDIA and the market. Long term, I am bullish on the future of NVIDIA as more hyperscalers like Amazon, Meta, Microsoft, and Alphabet increase capex spending on AI by billions of dollars. Even if Blackwell is delayed, that does not concern me regarding NVIDIA's long-term future. If there is a delay in Blackwell, then NVIDIA can just sell more H100 GPUs in the interim because because demand is so great right now, and they would likely just guide higher for future quarters in which they expect Blackwell to ship in volume. In the short term, I don't know what's in store. Anything could happen. Long term, though, I am very optimistic about the future of NVIDIA. With all of that being said, I hope you all have a great weekend, and I'm curious to hear your thoughts about NVIDIA in the comments below. Please leave a like on this video so more people will see it. And while you're down there, please consider subscribing. It's free, and you can always change your mind. Thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.